Alexander Shkudun, lottery.
Young man, buy a lottery ticket. It's not expensive at all. Only 2 hryvnias for a little piece of paper that could change your life for the better.
I walked past. Oh, these eternal tricksters with their tickets. I've been hearing the same thing for the past 2 weeks. What's this new trend? They never sold anything like this before, but really, what do I care? I wasn't planning to buy anyway. My shoes softly tapped on the snow-dusted pavement, leaving funny prints woven from all sorts of patterns.
Where are you going? Wait, don't miss your chance for happiness.
But I was actually heading straight for it. I was hurrying home, in my hands a small bouquet of daisies. How long has it been since I gave Lena flowers? And in my heart, joy for Friday and the 2 days of rest ahead. Yes, I had to stay late at work today, which ruined my plans for a dinner out. And no matter how loudly Lena shouted into the phone, no matter how much she complained about wasting her day at the hairdresser, and for a manicure that now didn't matter at all, I couldn't change anything. Work is work. They pay for it, and that's what allows me to support my family.
Sometimes people don't even notice happiness right in front of them, chasing it all over the world.
He's going on and on like a philosopher. I snorted and quickened my pace.
But happiness doesn't always come to people on its own. And sometimes, in order to feel its breath in your life, you have to take a step towards it. A tiny little step.
I turned around. A short guy in a wide-open fur coat stood behind me, holding out a small ticket. Well, would you look at that? He's been following me all the way from the bus stop.
Sir, I can see you need this ticket. Just 2 hryvnias and it's yours.
Sir, what's with that pompous address? I'm practically his peer. All right, give it here. I pulled out my wallet and handed him 2 coins. I swear, every time I get change in the metro, I'm lucky if I don't end up with a ticket to nowhere.
Thank you, sir. I know you'll win.
Oh, please, I didn't leave work at 11. Just 10 in the evening, so I'm already lucky. I winked at him.
Scratch off the top layer and find out what kind of prize life has given you this late evening.
The guy waved cheerfully and walked off looking for new customers. I turned my gaze to the ticket. I had never played the lottery. I never relied on luck or chance, preferring to achieve everything through my own efforts. Maybe that was a mistake. Last week, a couple from Zaporizhia hit the jackpot in the Lotto Zabava draw, winning 300,000 hryvnias. Now that was lucky. But such cases are rare. That's the thing. Most people who play the lottery throughout their lives never win anything. However, perhaps the game itself is already, in a way, a prize for them. I started scratching off the protective layer of the ticket. Then, suddenly changing my mind, I stopped. I put the ticket in my pocket. It's better to open it at home with Lena.
Let me guess. Did one of the clients call again right before the end of the workday?
If you're greeted like this right when you walk in, expect a storm. Not a sandstorm, and not even a sea storm. A family storm is probably the fiercest of them all. You don't even need to guess.
You've really gotten me fed up with your work. No family life. When is this going to end?
A rhetorical question. It could all end very soon. So soon that I won't even have time to blink before I find myself out on the street without a job. There are 6 people gunning for my position, and they're dying to take it. But I'm not about to give them such a gift. I'm fine with everything, the salary, the conditions. Sure, I've been getting on her nerves, I hate these trendy words, with my late arrivals, but I won't earn as much anywhere else as I do at this company. At least for now. Although in general I can understand Lena.
Not only did I, like an idiot, spend the day making myself pretty for no reason, but also owe daisies. Are these for me?
Girls are such funny creatures. No, damn it, I brought them for the janitor. I'll give them to him tomorrow morning. For you. And what is it about flowers that they like so much? I have no idea. She bloomed as if I had given her a diamond necklace. Lena kissed me on the lips and, humming something, disappeared into the living room in search of a vase. That's right. A storm needs to be calmed with creative, unconventional acts. Last time, when I came home around midnight, I gave her a plush white teddy bear bought at a 24-hour supermarket. That damn bear, for some reason, brought Lena into indescribable erotic ecstasy, and the night turned sleepless. A minute later, Lena appeared.
Since we had such a delicious meal at the restaurant today, for dinner we'll only have dumplings.
She teased. Sweetie, I'll eat whatever. Even a sandwich with sausage, yesterday's sausage and a glass of water. I'll eat anything, even those, what are they? the ones your mom brought 2 days ago.
Zrazy?
Exactly. Even the zrazy with stewed cabbage, which I can't stand, I'll eat that too. I hung my coat in the closet and headed for the bathroom.
No way.
I put my hands under the cold water stream and looked at Lena. What do you mean?
I won't let you eat junk. I made soup. Pastel with meatballs and a fresh vegetable salad. Honestly, I had a feeling things wouldn't work out with the restaurant.
You're a clairvoyant, I smiled. I dried my hands, slowly walked toward my beloved. Lena made a face.
You're still a bad, annoying workaholic.
Yep. I gently wrapped my arms around her waist. Oh yes, our lips met, and for a few minutes I forgot how desperately hungry I was. The dinner turned out to be fit for royalty. Lena forgot to mention the baked fish, fried mushrooms, and cured ham, which were also part of today's menu. The Muscat wine completed the picture, turning the meal from a simple family gathering into a refined restaurant home vignette. It had been a long time since I ate so well. Only after the last piece of truly magnificent fish was eaten, and the second to last meatball was snatched from the pan, did I relax and lean back in my chair, feeling in the most wonderful mood, resembling a phlegmatic cat who had just overindulged in sour cream. Candles flickered on the table, setting a romantic mood. Something slow was playing from the stereo speakers, and in front of me was the most desired girl in the world. Darling, I officially declare you cook like a master. The most desired girl in the world, scrubbing the frying pan at that moment, turned to me. A mischievous gleam appeared in her eyes, and her lips curled into a barely noticeable smile. Knowing where this could lead, I quickly decided to change the subject to avoid overloading my body with unnecessary physical exertion after dinner. Want to hear something funny, Len?
Well,
My love returned to her previous task, still scrubbing the non-stick frying pan. Where does she get all that energy from? I bought a lottery ticket.
here you have nothing better to do. Wanna bet we won't owe anything?
This guy wouldn't leave me alone, kept pushing me to buy, going on about happiness, about taking a step towards it.
They'll tell you all sorts of nonsense just to get you to buy.
Lena turned on the water.
Just a regular street hustler, hoping to make a buck.
Yeah, the guy seemed a bit odd to me too.
Typical salesman. They're all a bit crazy when it comes to selling.
Oh, come on, I'll bring the ticket. What if we win?
Dim, stop saying nonsense. You know what will happen.
I walked into the hallway, fumbled in my coat pocket for the ticket, pulled out a coin, and began scratching off the protective layer. Well, why not? You know, but what do I really know? If I win 300,000, I'll buy Lena a gold ring, some French perfume, and a new mink fur coat. For myself, I'll get a Toyota Avensis or a Corolla at worst. I'll take my parents on a romantic trip to one of the islands in the Pacific. Water bungalows, natives, heen. Maybe we should go somewhere ourselves, take a vacation at our own expense. Lena could get time off from her company. Luckily, that's never a problem for realtors. And they should let me go too. All I'd have to do is promise the boss a 5-star Ararat. Piece of cake. Well, as they say, dreaming doesn't hurt. There was something on the ticket. I had gotten so caught up in my fantasies that I didn't notice it right away. Some kind of inscription. Then again, they could easily write no prize. Ha 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 ha. I scratched off the protective coating completely, and holding the ticket up to the light, I finally saw the text. Neat, tiny handwriting had 3 words written on it: a night without fights. I stared at the inscription as if it were a product of my overactive imagination. I would have been less surprised if the Madonna herself had stepped out from the bathroom. A chill ran down my spine. I blinked several times.
What's it say?
Lena's voice floated from the kitchen. Slowly, my mind started to catch up. I began to gather the echoes of my thoughts into a coherent sentence. And the first thought, damn it, wasn't helping. Get it together. You were right. It says better luck next time.
I told you so.
Lena called out.
Dimitri, can you help wash the dishes? This frying pan won't come clean? And there are plates too?
I glanced back at the words. What if? A wild thought crossed my mind. Lena, I'm really tired today. How about you finish washing up? And I'll go make the bed and look for a new movie for us to watch. The pause that followed made me acutely aware of the sound of my own heartbeat.
Of course, darling. I'll be right there. Don't watch without me, okay?
I rubbed my cheeks and smiled. Well, Miracles, just like in a fairy tale, only I didn't look much like a character from one. On any other day, I'd surely be subjected to a debriefing on why I didn't help my beloved wash the dishes. Quickly slipping into the bedroom and making the bed, I sat down on it. So what's this? Today I can do whatever I want, and Lena won't be able to protest. Interesting. I had to test this theory. I still couldn't quite believe that the excuse of being tired was actually the work of the mysterious lottery ticket. Lena could have bought that excuse on any other day, depending on her mood. Maybe it had something to do with the daisies. I fiddled with the ticket in my hands. Suddenly, an idea came to me. Lena. Silence. Damn, she couldn't hear me. What a ridiculous habit of shouting from one room to another. I had to get up and go to the kitchen. Lena.
What, darling? Already, I still have about 10 minutes of work. You can go take a shower in the meantime.
Listen, let's not go to the opera tomorrow. I'm just not in the mood. Maybe we could go ice skating instead. I held my breath. This was the moment of truth. I'd been badgered for an entire month to see the Nutcracker. Complaints, pleadings, coaxing. After 3 weeks of torment, I had reluctantly agreed. Naturally, I had no desire to waste 2 hours of my life on that nonsense. Lena left the frying pan and turned to me. I could clearly see a spark of something fleeting in her eyes. A spark of what? Who can say? Here it was. Either some handy object was about to fly at my head, and I really didn't want it to be that infamous Tefl pan, or
If you really want to, then sure.
bravo. I don't know what was on my face, but I think ecstatic is a bit of an understatement. Lena. I hugged her and spun her around the room, my kitten.
Dimitri, let go here. I haven't finished cleaning yet.
I was so happy, it was as if going to the opera was the worst punishment in the world. Smiling, mentally clapping my hands, a miracle had happened, and not just any miracle. 10 minutes later, Lena went to the store to buy me some beer, and I grinned even wider. Exploiter, you'd say, maybe, or perhaps the girl just wanted to do something nice for her favorite man, treating him to a beer before bed, and the ticket had nothing to do with it. After that incident, every evening, returning from work, I would always stop at the improvised booth made from 2 wooden stools where the young man sold lottery tickets. There was something special in this act, something that couldn't be captured by ordinary words. It was as though a veil of mystery was being lifted before you, revealing the invisible thread of fate that connects all the people in this world by a mere twist of chance. I felt disappointed when I didn't find the vendors at their usual spot, and I rejoiced like a child when, scratching off the protective coating of the ticket, I discovered a win. It didn't matter that I never managed to get the vendor of those white slips of paper, capable of doing the most incredible things, to speak about them. Every attempt to talk to the sellers was met with the inevitable, "Do you want the ticket or not?" None of that mattered. What mattered was the effect. 2 months earlier, I had won a victory for my favorite team. Dynamo Kiev, after 3 crushing defeats to their rivals, managed to break the bad luck that had been hanging over them. Winning the remaining matches, they made it to the Champions League playoffs. No one, not even the most seasoned veterans of the football world, expected such a turn of events. The bookmakers crossed themselves, and the critics who had been slinging mud at the head coach and most of the players suddenly fell silent. New predictions started to emerge, with the most optimistic one being that they would reach the final and win the cup. Naturally, that was my prediction. I had even placed a substantial bet on it. And that was just the beginning. A month ago, the ticket gave Lena and me a trip to Spain. I nearly broke into a dance when I saw the words romantic trip on the white paper. That very evening, I got a call from a bank clerk who told me that among the owners of Visa cards, there was a draw for a trip for 2 to Costa Dorada. My card won. It would have been foolish not to take advantage of the situation. Lena literally lost her voice when I told her about it over the phone. After a brief pause, she giggled into the receiver, which was the best confirmation of her emotions. I didn't tell Lena that I was still playing the lottery. She wouldn't have believed me. It was easier to chalk it up to coincidence, something people are more willing to trust. Just luck. And that's it. For about 10 times, I didn't win anything. The ticket was empty, but that didn't upset me at all. On the contrary, it encouraged me. It was incredibly pleasant to realize that people who buy tickets don't always win, which meant that I was really one of the lucky ones. The next day, I bought a new lottery ticket. Day after, another one. If I could have bought a dozen at once, I definitely, but the guy standing by the metro exit didn't sell more than one at a time. When I asked him why, he replied sadly, "It's not allowed." Well, if it's not allowed, then it's not allowed. Buying one at a time was even more interesting. As I stood by the stall lost in my thoughts, the 18-year-old boy selling tickets today was studying me carefully. His black, olive-like eyes moved across my face, my clothes. They lingered for a second on the leather briefcase Lena had gifted me for my birthday, before shifting to the tickets lying in front of him. This one. I pointed to the one at the far edge, pulling out my wallet. The boy sniffed, tucked 2 hryvnias into his pocket, and handed me the ticket. A second later, in a slightly hoarse voice, he said,
Remember, Mr. Fate has its own moods.
"What do you mean?" I asked, a little confused, as the vendors had never spoken to me before. Usually they just kept quiet.
I mean, Mr., that in our lives there are not just highs, there are also lows, and it's unknown which of them happens more often.
I smiled at the boy. At your age, I was also into philosophy and esoterics. I could tell you a lot of interesting things too. The young man shrugged vaguely and fell silent. Not moving away from the stall, I pulled out a 5 kopeck coin and started scratching off the protective layer on the ticket. I wonder what it will be this time, I thought to myself. A large sum of money, maybe an unexpected gift. When I looked at the inscription, beads of sweat covered my forehead, my chest trembled, and my legs, firmly planted on the ground, nearly gave way. Accident. For several seconds, I was in shock. I looked at the inscription, then at the boy, and couldn't say a word. He had sold tickets to 3 other people. He turned to me with the look of someone who had honestly warned you and now deeply regretted that you were too much of a fool to heed the advice. I turned away and clenched my fists. Yes, I'm a fool. The situation is hopeless. Knowing the properties of this ticket, I could not hope that an accident wouldn't happen. It's bound to happen. More than that, it will happen today. It's as inevitable as snow falling in winter. I don't know how it will happen. A brick will fall on my head, a car will hit me, bandits will knife me, or perhaps the brave police will take me in for identification, and I'll sit in the drunk tank till morning with homeless people and prostitutes, while Lena or my parents come to recognize me as the good, well-respected person I am and take me home. My situation is bad. Also bad. I glanced at the boy again, and I can't do anything to him. He's the seller, I'm the buyer. I bought the ticket of my own accord, and accordingly I have all the responsibility for it. I must face the consequences of my actions. I shook my head. It turned out to be quite a day, no doubt about it. First, in the middle of the day, my computer froze, stopping all my work, which led to me being called to the boss's office. The boss couldn't care less about my issues with the malfunctioning machine from the 2nd floor of his office tower. He was concerned with the work getting done on time, something I failed at. In the end, I got an earful. Well, not just me, but also the administrator, but that's a small matter. And then, in the evening, when I least expected any trouble, a sweet surprise came from the lottery ticket. I was about to cross the road, but suddenly remembered, no way. I'll look for an underground crossing instead. Thankfully, there should be one nearby, and I won't take the minibus home. Better walk on my own 2 feet. It's safer that way. With these thoughts, I walked away from the subway, coming up with possible unfortunate scenarios as I went. Would a dog bite me? Would I trip and break my arm? Would aliens abduct me? Chuckling at the last thought, I decided to stop thinking negatively. Nothing's happened yet. Why get worked up? Human thoughts are material. It's been proven in many examples. So better not to provoke anything. Though maybe if I'm more cautious, nothing will happen at all. Just in case, I moved farther from the edge of the curb and slowed my pace. The slower you go, the further you'll get. The mobile phone in my pocket started ringing. I flinched in surprise. My mind immediately started picturing a scenario. I take the phone out, it shocks me, and I collapse unconscious on the street. What nonsense, what shock. The phone is powered by a battery. My subconscious quickly suggested another option. I take the phone out, it slips from my hands and shatters into pieces. The $600 I paid for it waved me goodbye. Isn't that an accident? Nonsense, stop thinking. Reluctantly agreeing with my thoughts, I took the phone out. The number was unfamiliar. Now they'll tell me my apartment has been robbed, my inner voice kept nagging. Oh, shut up. God, at this rate I'll become a paranoid. Hello.
Dmitry Alexeyevich?
The stern, deep voice belonged to a man. Yes, who's this?
This is the ambulance. Are you familiar with Nazarova Elena Olegovna?
In an instant, my breath caught, and it became incredibly hard to speak. She's my girlfriend. What happened? My hand holding the phone trembled. I still couldn't believe this could be happening.
She's in intensive care. Accident. She slipped and fell down the stairs. Concussion.
A foggy haze appeared before my eyes. What hospital? What medicines does she need? Tell me. I'll bring them.
Central City Hospital? She doesn't need any medication. The only thing, come yourself. The girl is unconscious. Her condition is serious.
I'm coming. I hung up the phone and squeezed it in my hand. Bastards. I whispered to the emptiness. You're all just bastards. I didn't have to wait long for a ride. The first private driver in a car model, agreed to take me to the hospital, and when he heard about the accident with my girlfriend, he outright refused to take any money.
It's wrong to profit from someone else's misfortune.
The driver said, weaving his way through the traffic heading toward the city center.
Besides, it's almost on my way.
I looked at him carefully. The man looked about 50, slightly overweight, with a kind face and a sharp, insightful look of someone who'd seen a lot in life.
Yes, and don't look at me like a beau looking at a rabbit. I'm serious. You'll remember my words. Nothing in this world happens by accident, and any good done to you will return sooner or later, just like evil.
If that were really the case, the scumbags would have been sitting in prison a long time ago instead of swimming in luxury and illegally gained money, spitting on morals and order.
But you should believe me. Sooner or later, retribution comes. For example, have you ever wondered why businessmen die young?
The man gave a sarcastic smile as he overtook a minibus.
It just catches up with them, I'm telling you. And if it doesn't directly affect them, it affects their children and grandchildren, which is even worse. What father would wish for his son not to live to see grandchildren?
I was looking out the car window at the passing vehicles, at the illuminated high-rise buildings and stores. Drops of the starting rain slowly slid down the glass. Maybe you're right, I said.
And our job is simple.
The driver continued.
It's not about tearing ourselves apart trying to grab a bigger piece, but about working honestly. You know, I've had many opportunities to buy myself a fancy car, a mansion, making a profit off of other people. But I didn't go down that road, and I don't regret it. Yes, I don't live in fancy apartments, but in a 2-room apartment provided by the state. I don't drive a Mercedes, but an old Lada, but at least I'm clear before my conscience.
I shook my head. Many people don't have one.
Oh, you're wrong. Everyone has a conscience, even the most rotten scoundrels. And sometimes it happens that it corrects a person better than any prison or other punishment.
I remained silent. Of course, I could have listed dozens of counterexamples, could have argued until I was hoarse that the driver was wrong, and that in most cases, scumbags somehow live much better than regular people and usually go unpunished. This sad fact was confirmed by life itself. But I didn't want to argue. I thought about Lena, and about the unfortunate lottery ticket. Why did the misfortune happen to her and not to me? Was it bad luck, or just a random absurd mistake? I couldn't find an answer to that question. When the car smoothly pulled up to the main entrance of the hospital, I silently handed the driver 15 hryvnias. Take it. Money has never hurt anyone, considering the difficult times we're in and the gas prices.
Stop shoving these pathetic bills at me. You think I can't live without them? Better go to your beloved. She needs you right now, and take care of each other, because love is the most precious thing in life.
I smiled, thanked him, and got out of the car. I felt happy. It's really nice to meet genuine people in this world, not their false counterparts. It's just a shame there are not that many people like that left. Honking goodbye, the 9 drove off.
Young man, don't walk past your happiness. Buy a ticket. I know it's exactly what you need right now.
I turned my head in shock at the voice. What do you know? Right next to the hospital entrance stood a tall guy in a leather jacket and a blue knitted cap, selling lottery tickets. In front of him was the familiar stall made from broken stools, upon which white tickets were carelessly scattered. A man, just exiting the hospital wing, stopped. After thinking for a moment, he approached the guy. I silently applauded. They chose a great place to sell, no doubt about it. I'd bet the demand for these sweet gingerbreads is high. Sick people, grieving relatives, and loved ones are walking around who wouldn't risk a bet. Strangely enough, my anger towards the vendors had noticeably subsided. I don't know why. Maybe something from the conversation with the driver stuck with me. Maybe it's true that everything in life comes with a price. And luck never walks without its twin sister, misfortune. Maybe that's what the young men selling tickets are trying to tell us. If that's how it works, then there's still hope that the world will change for the better, and people, realizing the patterns of reality, will stop bringing evil into the world. They'll know that every action they take will be met by life in kind. Meanwhile, the man bought a ticket and began scratching off the protective field. After a moment, his face lit up, and his eyes sparkled with a childlike gleam. I wonder what he won, and what will he soon have to give up in exchange for this win. He walked towards the parking lot. While walking, he lifted his phone to his ear and started talking quickly. Then he pressed the car alarm button and got into a well-kept SUV. A minute later, the Land Rover left the hospital yard. I watched him until he turned the corner and then turned back to the central entrance. An old lady was slowly making her way out of the building.
Granny, just 2 hryvnias and a new meaning will appear in your life.
The guy immediately called out to her. The woman waved her hand tiredly and walked past, not even glancing his way. It was the old Soviet-era mindset not to trust street vendors and other hustlers. I smiled and approached the stall. If there's been a misfortune, there should be a joyful event that follows, right? I really wanted Lena to recover quickly, and if the ticket couldn't provide that, then at least I hoped for some sort of miracle for her, like a bouquet of amazing flowers or some chocolate. Anything magical. 1 ticket, please. The guy looked me in the eyes intently.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure, I said, handing over 2 hryvnias.
Tickets don't always bring happiness, mister.
I had already noticed that. Remind me, did I pay you? The young man sighed and demonstratively swept his hand over the tickets on the stall.
Choose.
I took the very last one from the top row.
This is a lottery, mister. Don't forget about that.
I remember, I reassured him. I climbed the steps, opened the door, and walked into the hospital lobby. It only took a few minutes to find out which room Lena was in, another 7 minutes to get to the 4th floor, exchange a few words with the nurse on duty, and enter the dimly lit single room. The faint twilight created an atmosphere of discomfort. A lamp burned alone on the nightstand, casting light on the pale face of the girl lying motionless on the large bed. Some tubes were attached to her head and arms. An IV stood nearby, the devices occupying the stand of feet, beeping sound, probably counting her pulse. I never liked hospital rooms. There's something uncomfortable about being in a cramped space that has held the memories of all the patients who came before. Some of them recovered, while others left this world forever. My love, I bent over Lena and touched her forehead with my lips. She didn't respond. The girl seemed to be floating somewhere in another world, unwilling to return. I sat down on the edge of the bed and stroked the hand of the woman who meant the most to my heart. I took out the lottery ticket. Well, it was time to believe in miracles. I shook my head. My God, what am I doing? Putting my hopes on a piece of paper that was once part of a tree, when the woman I love more than my own life lies here in front of me, and, according to the nurse, I almost lost her. Standing up from the bed, I walked to the window. So what if I won a trip to Spain? So what if I had a peaceful evening without arguments? Almost every evening with Lena was like that. Is the price too high for those little pleasures without which we could have gotten by just fine? What can the ticket give me? Eternal youth. No, death can't be tricked, no matter how hard you try. And why bother if people never died there would soon be no room to live on Earth and nothing to eat. Overpopulation would destroy humanity, and don't the unborn deserve a chance to at least glimpse our world? Nature is clever and very thoughtful in this regard. What else? Money? Power? None of that would matter if my loved one wasn't by my side. No treasure in the world could replace her. Yes, sometimes she's difficult, occasionally unbearable. But mine, my dear and beloved with all my heart, until my last breath. Slowly, almost as if performing for an audience, I turned the lottery ticket in my hands. I stared thoughtfully at the simple scrap of paper that had become a new revelation in my life. Thanks to it, I had learned a lot. I realized much. And most importantly, I learned to appreciate what I have. So perhaps it's not worth continuing to take advantage of fate's favor so shamelessly. After all, as shown by this situation, sometimes fortune turns her back on you. I opened the window, took a breath, letting the pleasant, frosty air of the coming winter fill my lungs, and relaxed my fingers. The ticket slipped from my hands and, carried by the wind, tumbled and rolled towards the nearby buildings. Somewhere out there it landed on the damp, rain-soaked ground. I closed the window and returned to the bed. I adjusted the blanket for Lena, stroked her hand, and softly said, "Tomorrow you'll be better." I knew she could hear my words. By midnight, snow began to fall from the sky. Large snowflakes slowly settled on the ground, creating an atmosphere of mystery and charm. Trees and bushes, sidewalks, and benches, all were covered in white garments. It seemed as though nature had missed winter and was generously showering everything around with snow. A black beam slowly rolled up to the first entrance. 2 security guards got out, scanning the area for any potential threats. Once they were sure there was no one nearby, one of them opened the back door of the car, letting out a bald man in a black cashmere coat.
Everything's fine, boys. Check the main entrance.
While the guards carried out the order, the bald man stood on the spot looking around. In an instant, his gaze stopped on the lottery ticket lying near the door.
Well, how did you end up here?
The man smirked as he picked up the white rectangle.
Ha! And it's even still unopened. Just in time. My money's running low. You didn't bring me enough profit last time, but now we'll fix that.
He took out a coin and began scratching off the protective coating.
Yosef Valerievich, all clear?
The guards returned.
Thanks, guys. One moment, let me check what I've won, and we'll go.
The man leaned on the car.
You see how life is. You never know when a lucky break will super.
In the next second, a 12mm bullet entered the businessman's skull. The man staggered, his arms flung out to the sides, and he died before his body could fall to the ground. The guards, who had just come to their senses, belatedly drew their guns and opened fire in the direction of the shot. One of them quickly spoke into a radio. Within minutes, cars with flashing lights began to arrive in the courtyard. And only when the sleepy forensic experts took over their monotonous work did one of them notice the white rectangle of paper lying near the corpse. He picked it up, trying to examine it, and then, with a thoughtful expression, handed it to the senior investigator. On the ticket, in small, neat handwriting, was written just one word: death.